So, what do you do when you are in a career where people promote themselves based on the successes that they actually um, that they suggest, and then you continuously keep getting rejected, and um, that there is sort of a display of successes in various different ways, where people like to promote their success, all of those kind of things. This is exactly what my experience is, and I get a lot of rejection, a ton of rejection. Um, and yeah, it never feels good, right? Like none of it ever feels like this is a wonderful experience. Um, and there's two things or two ways that I take it. Right, one way is that I accept I'm a failure, that I'm problematic, that I'm a big L, right? A big loser. Um, and then the other way, which can be completely true, um, and that I don't have the skills, I don't have the underlying skill sets, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the IQ level, I don't have the work effort, um, all of those particular things that are sort of the standard stories that you would look at in terms of equating what it takes to become successful. And the stories that you would see that are online, that are in popular culture. Um, the other way that I can take it, and I could really internalize that and say, screw it, which I do, and it makes me feel sad, right? Like this perspective makes me feel sad. The other way that I can take it is recognize the inherent inequality that actually ends up happening a lot of the time within the career. And it's not inequality in the one that sort of one would think about, right? Like which it does happen, but it's not the way that one thinks about. Um, it's in an inobservable way that is hard to pick up and hard to measure. And this inequality, it's called the Matthew effect. People are very well aware of this. I just looked up the paper that started this whole field. Um, and, there's 11,000 citations. So I think people are well aware of what is actually going on. And a lot of series of different papers have looked into it. Um, and basically what it suggests is that there is an inherent unfairness often, where we sort of think that there is a level playing field, and they're talking about within scientific fields. We think that there's a level playing field, and everything is sort of mathematically laid out, and all of that kind of stuff. That there is equal playing fields, but the truth is that there is a lot of inherent unfairness, and an inherent unobservable challenges that a lot of people face. If you don't belong to the right group, the sort of network, if you don't belong to the right team, if you don't have the right credentials, a number of different things, a number of different factors, then there's unobservable things that you can't see that people get access to and other people don't, right? The simplest one is if you have some sort of, and this is well known, in fact, somebody won the Nobel Prize on this, Michael Spence. But if you have some sort of credential in your name, right, like a degree from a so and so university, then it signals to the market and you get extra opportunities because it signals to the market. And so it's easier to sort of quote unquote win when you get opportunities that present themselves at a faster rate, and maybe those opportunities are better. So on that side, right, we have this sort of two dueling perspectives, right? On that side, I have to you face a lot of uphill battles because a lot of people don't want to recognize these particular challenges because they do well. And I don't want to diminish any of those sort of accomplishments that other people get, because it is challenging. The whole sort of effort is challenging. Um, but and there's not necessarily a clear way to reverse any of this particular thing, any of these particular effects. It's not like it's an easy thing to reverse, other than inherently recognizing that and trying to democratize in various different ways. I talked to um, somebody recently, and they were talking about why don't we have a random draw as one of the prizes, because we know that this exists. So why not have a pool that's actually random, to increase the diversity of ideas, where some of those clearly will not be that good and some of them will be good. Um, that's a great idea to have a random pool, as well as the sort of normal up and out kind of way of doing things where people bet on your legitimacy and credibility and what you write, all of those particular things. So it's fascinating, that's at the systematic level, and I think a lot of people talk about that, right? But inherently, how do you process this, right? Like, what do you do? And that's the thing that I'm more interested in, um, because it's very individual, and it's a very much an individual fight inside your head when you're up against those odds, right? Like the odds are almost always stacked against you unless you're sort of part of the elite few where opportunities get thrown to you rather easily, or at least it seems, but maybe that's not the case. Um, what do you do, right? How do you process this? This is where you stop thinking about. So first way that you can sort of think about this is stop thinking about the outcomes themselves, right? And that's hard to actually do, right? Because we live in a system where that is not necessarily easy to do because you get rewarded and all that kind of stuff based on these systems. That's one way. And the way that I sort of talk about it is I give the world the middle finger, right? Like I don't care. Um, but another way to think about it, um, is to double down on other characteristics that give you pleasure in life and cut off that particular aspect of your life where it's essentially emotionally dead, right? That you let that sort of part of your life wither, and you just do your job and you do whatever it is it actually means. But then the rest of it, you double down on feeling good about yourself in other areas. Um, so you do things like, do things for personal enjoyment, do things because you want to spread joy, and that particular matters to you. Things that are not necessarily observable, um, in any sort of way, just like the other sort of way to think about things, right? There's unobservable effects, but you double down and you try to be a better person in so many other areas beyond that one sort of successful thing. Um, and you learn how to deal with the inherent inequality that actually exists, and you just be okay with it. You learn how to meditate through it. You learn how to learn how to recognize it, but then at the same time, you take a step back and you say, all right, well, that did not work out. How do I figure out how to do it again? How do I figure out to get back up and do it again? Um, Ultimately, If the odds are stacked against you, the only thing that you can do, the only option you can do is recognize you're going to experience a great deal more failure and things are not going to work out in your favor. And so you need to learn how to deal with failure itself, where you become a decent person, um, and you try to encourage other people that are going through the exact same experiences as you. So I'd encourage you to think about that. How can you feel gratitude for today and be excited about today, and look around and realize that this is a beautiful moment to live? How can you give encouragement to other people that might not be necessarily feeling the same things that other people feel and they're feeling like they're locked out? Um, how can you give winks and nudges to other people just to say, get back up and do it again? The world is not fair, but you get back up and you do it again. I want you to think about all those kind of moments and how to think about and deal with the struggles that you will go through. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.